All right, so this week's top 10, well, kind of a top 10. We are ranking all of the Marvel, the Marvel live action series. Now, this is none of the.
Do you want me to give the list? Or are you going to give the list?
No, do you have the list out of order?
Yes.
You have the out of order list? Yeah. Well, we're not gonna. Okay, so here's the deal. We'll just set the parameters. We don't need to do that. None of the there's some series that we're not talking about today. All the X-Men stuff isn't gonna be on there. So Runaways, Gifted, Legion, Hellstrom, which is on Hulu. Really, it's everything we're talking about today. You're gonna find on Disney Plus. So it's really the Disney Plus series. Even though we do include the Netflix series, which weren't originally, but they are on Disney Plus. I'd like to say Agent Carter as an honorable mention because she wasn't on our list when we did it. And honestly, I haven't watched Agent Carter, and I have no interest in watching Agent Carter. And unless it's a masterpiece of cinematic brilliance, I doubt it would change my list order.
I watched Agent Carter. Did you watch it, Bone?
I've watched a couple episodes.
So I watched most of it. I liked it. I liked it because it was a time set piece during the 40s, and I kind of liked the take on it and the time setting. But I didn't finish the series.
And it wouldn't have made your top 10?
No, it would not have made my top 10.
I just find myself wanting Captain America when I watch it.
That's exactly me too.
And then you can't.
I kept waiting for Chris Evans to pop in.
Bargain Captain America. So we got 16 is the amount of shows we got here. It's all live action, so the what ifs and all that's not in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to work in blocks. We're going to basically take the top 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 6 that don't make the top 10 list. Each is going to give that. You're just going to give those 6 and then we're going to take 5, the 10 through 6, and then we'll take the top 5 of the top 10. So we'll go in that order. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Drake.
I haven't gone first really, except for the Batman villains top 10. I went first on that because you are the Batman.
All right, Drake.
So my bottom 6. All right, so the bottom is Inhumans.
Agreed.
I mean, that is by far Then I would this one's here only because I haven't watched it, and like we mentioned before, I haven't watched Miss Marvel. It's on our list. I put it here. I can't rank it really because I haven't watched it. And like we mentioned in an earlier video, I don't really know anything about Kamala Khan. It's a character that was introduced in the comics. I haven't read it. I like the other characters involved with the Miss Marvel stuff and Captain Marvel and those characters. I'm looking forward to the Marvels movie. I hope it's good. So, then I have Secret Invasion down here. So that's Inhumans, Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel. I have Winter Soldier and Falcon down here. I liked that show. It just didn't make my top 10. Then I have Luke Cage down here. This is not in a particular order. And then the last one, and this is because of personal preference, I have Punisher down here.
Yeah, so ones that didn't make my list were The Punisher because I haven't watched it all. I just didn't find myself. I wasn't interested. I have not seen The Inhumans.
You don't need to see it.
I didn't really like the Luke Cage series. I liked some of his appearances in the other ones, but I just found myself. It just seemed, I don't know. There's just something about it I didn't like. And obviously, Secret Invasion. I definitely did not like that. I'm not sure if I can't remember if there's any other ones that I didn't that you mentioned.
So you don't have the bottom 6?
No, I didn't. There's some that I didn't have on the list. Like I didn't have the Inhumans on the list.
You have 10 there?
Yeah, I do, but there's some of them that I don't have written.
That's fine.
I just want to make sure you have 10. All right. Well, here is mine.
Your bottom.
Bottoms, Inhumans. Absolutely agreed. Inhumans was crap. I couldn't. It was crap. It was terrible.
They shave her head in the first episode.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's like, other than Black Bolt, that's like the main character.
Yeah,
you shave Medusa's hair and she has no powers. It's like, why do you even bother
and he's
with the show?
doing this mute, like, he gets marooned in the world and he's mute and he can't really talk and he's just like walking around getting arrested and he can't explain himself because he's muted.
Lodjaw's running around. I mean, I love the characters. It's just they could have done something so much better with that.
And then the goat legs guy didn't even have goat legs. Secret Invasion. I was right after it. Terrible, awful. It was Nick Fury deserved so much better. Oh, he deserved so much better. Number 14 is going to be The Defenders. Defenders, it just wasn't that great to me. The only thing I really liked was the one scene where they kind of all fought each other, and really the fight scenes weren't that great. The story, it just wasn't. I just didn't like The Defenders, man. Number 13. And I hate to have to do this, but Iron Fist. And I love Iron Fist. And for me personally, I actually enjoyed the series, but I had to put it at the bottom because it was objectively, it wasn't great. The storytelling, the conversation, all of it was just hokey. The fight scenes were subpar, specifically for a guy who's supposed to be master of Kung Fu. Kung Fu. That's when you fight King Kong. That's Kung Fu. I love Iron Fist. I love the idea with his power and his ability. So I enjoyed the series personally, but I have to put it at the bottom list. It's just not great. Number 12 is Luke Cage. At the beginning, I liked Luke Cage. I really did. Mahershala Ali was great as Cottonmouth. It was really cool. But then they killed him off at the halfway of the first season, and it was Diamondback, which is like campy, hokey character. And then the second season, Bushmaster shows up. And listen, I mean, I enjoyed it because I like the accent. I like the Bushmaster, the Jamaican accent, the thick Jamaican accent. But overall, it wasn't that great. It started great. It started kind of interesting. But it just kind of killed itself. It just
Rosario Dawson was in that, right?
Yeah, she was.
I liked her in it.
She was in Daredevil as well.
She was in a bunch of those.
She's in several of them.
Yeah.
She played the night nurse
too.
She played night nurse. And then number 11, it's gonna be She-Hulk. Listen, I liked, and this is what it. She-Hulk was all right. It was kind of fun. I liked the introduction of the characters, like the Abomination, all the Hulk, all that. I liked that. I kind of dug it. I didn't like some of the things I didn't like what they did with the Wrecking Crew. Like, come on, the Wrecking Crew was much cooler and better in the comics. But, and because they keep coming back, so it's like, but in there they just kind of got rid of them. Oh, there's the Wrecking Crew. There's a bunch of kind of losers with these weird. Anyways, but I was kind of enjoying the series, even despite all of the preachiness, all of the just blatant, just destruction. Like she runs into this really nice male character who then turns out to be, oh, well, he was evil and he was hired to seduce her and all this crap, and it just like makes everything like paranoid. Women watching that should leave paranoid. Like, there's no great men in the world. That's what kind of comes off. It was just kind of, it was hokey. I did like the Daredevil appearance, and then for me, I was kind of enjoying it. Not hokey, but I was kind of enjoying it. Then the ending just completely shot. And I know that it's comic book accurate, but even then, you just completely ruin the climax. You build up to this climax, this big fight, and then she just ruins it. And she just breaks the fourth wall for the sake of breaking the fourth wall. And there's no climax to the show. And the climax is she breaks the fourth wall and then comes back and goes, "I'll see you in court." It was just like you were about to have this really cool Abomination Hulk fight scene. Like, this was gonna be awesome. Oh, well, let's just break the fourth wall. And I don't care if it's comic book accurate. For me, it ruined the show. It ruined it. Like, it was this whole build up, and then it just ruined this anticlimactic just fizzle. So that's why it's not making my top 10. So with that said, we'll keep in that same order. You want to give your next 5?
My bottom 5
Of the top 10.
my 10 through 6. Okay, number 10 is Hawkeye. I really like Hawkeye. I like the show. I like some of the aspects of it. I like the New York mob stuff in it, and it kind of hinted at the his other is it Ronan, the Ronan character, and that I really liked what they did with it. It's just Hawkeye's not one of the characters that I have on the top of my list of deals. I like him. He's a great character. Clint Barton's cool, and I like what they did in it, and I enjoyed it. If they did another season, I would watch it. It was fine. Number 9. And this is one that I would have loved to put it higher. So number 9 for me would be Iron Fist. I don't feel as bad about it as Doc does, but so what really hurt this show for me was the first season and how long it took for him to convince everybody that he was Danny Rand. Like, they burned an entire season where he's in that place where the one guy, his dad's partner, puts him in the mental home on the drug, and then him and Colleen and it all. Like, I wanted them to get into some of it faster. Like, they burned like 90% of the first season up, doing setup that for anyone that knew who Iron Fist was, I didn't need it. I wanted Iron Fist.
And
I wanted more.
That's one of the main issues of the Netflix series is the writing is slow.
But then the second season, I really liked, and I really liked the when they brought the hand in, and all the different things going on with the hand. It tied into the Iron Fist storylines and the old Frank Miller Daredevil, and I couldn't have asked for more of what that was the exact stuff that I wanted to see, and it was perfect. And the second season, when you thought that he had lost the power and that Colleen had it, and then there he is with the guns at the end, and they never did a third season. I really was hoping that a third season would have come and it would have kept going. It would have been better, but it just was what it was. But I really enjoyed that series, but I had to put it at 9.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you because I really enjoyed that series as well, but I couldn't do it. Just objectively, I know it was, but I thank you thank you because that's what I wanted to say, but I couldn't because it's just objectively it can't be though. I can't.
Okay.
It's like you have a love-hate relationship with something. You ever love something so much but hate that you like it?
So
it's one of those things.
The next 3, I struggled with where to put them in order, and I just decided that I would do it this way. The number 8 is WandaVision. Number 8 for me was WandaVision.
That was one of the ones I forgot that didn't make my list.
So I liked it, but I'm really it goes back to some of our earlier conversations when we were talking about the female characters, and I like the Scarlet Witch and I like Vision, and I get the fact that they were playing on the fact that she had murdered Vision and had to watch Thanos bring him back and kill him again in front of her. And so she created the little reality there and trapped all those people in there. And they had brought Vision back at the end of that. And they had made it at the end of that show a way to put those 2 characters back to normal, and then they just never did it. It just and the Agatha character, is I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the show. It took so long. Like, you didn't know what was going on until like the 4th or the last 2 episodes. The first 2 or 3 episodes, you're like, and the time is changing, and it's like you're in the 50s or something, and then it's changing a little bit, and you're like, what's going on?
That premise is a great idea.
I liked it. Once it got near the end, I thought it was great. So, but I like the show. It's just my feeling on those are 2 of, especially Vision from the Avengers, are 2 characters that I hold in high regard, and I think they could have done something better than what they did. I get what they were trying to do. I liked it, but it wasn't up there. The next one now, number 7 for me, is Moon Knight. And you 2 know, I love Moon Knight. I think they went overboard on the schizophrenia, split personality thing, which was never in the original comic. It was in later comics. They did it with Garth Ennis that introduced it. And I liked it. And the Egyptian god stuff was cool. I love the cinematography is amazing. I like when they were both of them were split. 2 of them were split, and they're I guess they're on Osiris's or whoever's ship, and they're going to the land of the dead, and they have to kind of do their whole deal to get back, and then the one guy takes control at the end, and he's the other one that they never brought in. That's like, hey, I'm the really guy that's in charge. So I liked it, but it comes at 7 for me. 6, She-Hulk, and I like She-Hulk, and those 3 shows at first I had them all in different orders. I've changed the order of these 3 like all over the place. The WandaVision, the Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, because I just didn't know where to put each one. There were different reasons why I would put each one at 6 and do it differently. So I've had them in different orders multiple times before we got to now. I just ended with She-Hulk at 6, and I liked the She-Hulk show a lot. I liked the Moon Knight show a lot. I look forward to both seasons, the new seasons. The parts that you didn't like at the end, I kind of agreed with it. It was going to be the stereotypical, here comes the Hulk, and here's this big battle, and they were going to create this other Hulk character with her blood, and it's going to be just stereotypical. Couldn't we have done something better? I understand why you would not like that, but I also thought it was hilarious. And when she breaks into Marvel and and the he's a robot, and then Daredevil in there, and all the other characters, and the whole Abomination having like his own little tranquil like some place for all these people to go and get mental help and like their Zen spot. And I really like this show, and it got a bad rap. I had somebody ask me what I thought was better, that or Secret Invasion. I'm like, there's not even a contest here. She-Hulk is 100 times better than Secret Invasion. But that would be my the bottom half of my list.
All right, so number 10, I would have to say The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I really liked the show. I thought it was well done. It just got really preachy and really weird towards the end. It was like, okay, what are y'all talking about? And I didn't really like the outfit, that this like weird Falcon America, Captain Falcon outfit.
But that is fairly
why is he wearing a helmet? I mean, could somebody
fairly
just
accurate.
slip the guy some super soldier serum? I mean, just like, it's like, hey, we found one. Here it is. And now because look, that's what we love about Captain America, is he's so tough.
So, in that show, the guy he meets, the guy that he goes to that had the formula originally.
Talking about
Oh, the
Isaiah, what's
Egghead
his name?
America, the Captain Egghead, the guy who's like the angry Captain America.
Remember no, Isaiah, what's his face? The black guy, Isaiah Bradley or something like that?
Yeah, the guy from there was a
Yeah.
mini series called Truth, and it was about these guys that were all
The other test subjects,
they were the guinea pigs that they tested all this on for originally.
like the Tuskegee Captain America.
Yes, and
That's better.
I really enjoyed that aspect of it because it was right out of the comics and it was really cool, and it's something the government would have done.
No, that was I don't really have an issue with that part because you
And
can see.
I thought
that's
it
how it was.
It was super.
Can't deny
It was
that.
super accurate. I liked it.
Well, this is his top.
Okay,
Sorry.
so what would so I did number 10. Number 9 is Iron Fist. I don't really know. I didn't know who Iron Fist was, and
I wanted him.
look, I just thought he was a little whiny. He was a little weird, but I liked the show. I did like it. At least it made my list. But I don't know. I just didn't care for it that much. So number 8 is The Defenders, and I liked all those characters coming together. I don't really remember a lot about it. I just know that I liked it. Number 7 is Loki, and only just because I don't know. It's like I don't really get this idea of calling the show Loki, even though it's another Loki. Okay, you could say, oh, the show's called Loki. It's not called Lokis, right? Okay, it is not. Okay, I'm invested in that guy, right? If I liked his redemption. I liked how he sort of changed his ways. I don't really like the part where he kept running and he just couldn't get it through his head. And I really liked the little Thor, the little miniature Thor. But so that was number 7. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm having to learn how to write with my hand. It's very difficult. So we're going to number 6. And number 6 is Hawkeye. I just felt like that once his family disappeared and he just went mental, right? I really can identify with somewhat with that rage that, you could kind of put yourself in his situation. And then when he lost his best friend, and someone who he was willing to give his life for, knowing that he just went through all this turmoil, he's trying to save his family. I'm going to save my family because that's the most important thing to me, but yet I'm willing to give my life and give all that up for my friend, and she beat me to it. And now I got this lady, I have no idea who she is. She's trying to kill me. That's like, so I thought that was a decent show. And that's
All
it,
right.
right, 6?
Yeah.
Your
All
turn.
right. Interesting. So we got one or two conversations to have here, but I'll just give mine. Number 10 is going to be Moon Knight. Moon Knight's it's almost the opposite. It's not one of the characters that I'm really into, but I do have to say that it was some beautiful work. The cinematography was really great work. The writing, some of that, it's interesting. Some of the things you disliked, I liked. Like, even though I know that's not it's like not originally the conversation about the mental illness and the fact that he's like that was what made it interesting, is that he would just like glitch out. And then he's like, how did I get here? And then in the end, you find out that third guy pops up. He's more evil than all of them. And he's like the really, really bad, the actual bad guy who's working for the thing. The god. I'm not really, I don't know. It was great. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't a character that I really cared about. And it didn't really rank too high on my list. Number 9 is going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I didn't like all the preachiness, but I like their back and forth. I like the Winter Soldier and their relationship, and then all the cool. Then the thing with the aspect of the other people having the powers, the super soldiers, and so it's like, Falcon's the only one who doesn't. It kind of, because it is comic accurate. He doesn't have the super soldier serum in the comics, and he was Captain America for a while. And then the U.S. agent kind of coming in, and his breakdown as he's a jerk, and like listen, it's not all his fault, because they were kind of treating him a certain way, and he was like trying to be like, hey, let's get along, and they were kind of like, yeah, screw you, whatever. And then he just turns evil, just kills a guy. It was like, eat this, and he didn't have this. He was getting like mad, like was really bad, was really cool. I loved about like how he got like before he took the serum, he got like really pissed off because he's like, even these normal humans are beating our ass, like we're in here, and the ladies from Wakanda, he doesn't know anything about all these how they're set up and their whole deal, but he's just like, these Wakanda women came in, didn't even have a super soldier serum, and they're kicking our ass. Like, we really need to get this serum, man. I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. Number 8 is Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel was fun.
Oh, you watched it?
I did watch it. Miss Marvel was fun. For me, it was fun. One of the main reasons for me is I don't really care about the character. I don't really know the character, so I didn't come in having any plans or schemes or desires. So I was able to just sit down and watch and go, okay, I don't really have anything at stake here. And it was kind of fun. Like, listen, it's supposed to be fun. It's not like if you could, I'm sure you could look into it and tear it apart if you really wanted to and dig into it and all that. But for me, it was just this enjoyable watch of this girl discovering her powers and then discovering this whole backstory. And, then this character, and then have the damage control people in the background. And they're like actually not really nice people. And then she meets these people, who are from another dimension.
Spoiler
she finds
alert.
out all these things. So I don't mean to spoil it. It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun, and like when you don't have any strings attached to it and you don't care, it's enjoyable. It doesn't rank much higher because I don't care. So it was like, oh, it was fun, but I don't know how much time. I wouldn't rewatch it. Number 7, we had this in common, is Loki. It was interesting at the time. I didn't like the deal of the female Loki just takes over the show, and Loki falls in love with himself. It's kind of weird, but otherwise, like the whole Time Variance Authority thing was really interesting. I really loved how they took him, even though they did kind of fast track, which was whack. That's one of the whack things about it, is they fast tracked to this story arc that would take years, movies to explain how Loki because they took the Avengers Loki, who is trying to take over the world, and throw him into this, and then they fast track just by playing the history of years of build up, and right, which obviously, I mean, it's hours when you do build it down, but it's kind of fast track an episode or two. He just fast tracks they just watch it, and he watches his death, and then he suddenly is like kind of like the Loki we knew, and he's redeemable again. But he wasn't. He was just trying to take over the world. So it was a little fast track. But otherwise, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the kind of the reveals that it dug into it. And then the Time Variance Authority, and then realizing like, oh, this isn't, and the way they handled it, it was just kind of a fun ride. But it wasn't amazing. And then number 6 for me is Jessica Jones, and really just Jessica Jones season 1. I didn't like season 2 or 3. Jessica Jones season 1 was really well done for me. Just from the main, which is kind of comes from her main first story, her main comic book story, and the one of the biggest ones with the Purple Man's Jebediah Kilgrave and Luke Cage, and how they had that interesting premise of this guy can make you do anything he wants when you're in his presence, like he has control over you. And so she has this trauma from that, and she's trying to like get away, and he's like this creep who like is like trying to get control of her, and then Luke Cage is there, and he shows up, and then he gets control of Luke Cage, and then there's this whole reveal in the end, and the whole fight scene between all these things, and he just is a really like great villain, and it's just an interesting kind of premise and story, and it was executed really well, and I really enjoyed it. But that's mine. So now for the top 5.
Was it back to me?
Yeah, it's back to you.
Okay, so our lists have diverged away from each other drastically. All right. So number 5 for me is Daredevil. Daredevil's there because of the next one, and what you guys don't like about the next. Anyway, Daredevil for me, I loved it. It was like they almost got. It was borderline on. They almost got to the Born Again storyline. So it was Elektra. It was the Hand. It was Daredevil. It was all of the top Frank Miller Daredevil stuff in those 2 seasons. And It was unbelievable, and now they're talking about the Daredevil movie that's going to come out, or they're going to do whatever. It's going to be a movie or a TV show.
It's a series.
It's going to be Born Again, which is going to be the next chapter, which
I
is
thought it was
where
Untouchable or something.
No, it's a series. It's like, and it's going to be like 26 episodes. It's going to be
but
13
it's
and
called,
13.
It is called Born Again, right?
No, I don't think so.
I believe so. I believe it's Daredevil Born Again.
Born
I can look it
Again,
up.
which is basically where Kingpin learns who he is, and
Yeah, and he did in the last couple-
comics. And in the comics, that's all Frank Miller stuff, and it is fantastic. It is amazing. I love that story. And when I was a kid reading comics, Daredevil was a book that I started reading was one of the early titles I started reading, and it was the Frank Miller stuff that really got me into it. And I kept reading Daredevil for a long time after that because of Frank Miller's run. It never really added up, but it kept me reading it for quite a while. I've since checked out. But when that Netflix series started, and you have Stick in there, and you have all the stuff, it is just perfect. I was like, I loved it. It was awesome. The Hand, all that stuff is, anybody that's into Daredevil and that whole Hell's Kitchen stuff, that's what they wanted to see from the comic book side. The number 4 is The Defenders. And that's because it climaxed this Hand storyline and all these different characters through all the shows climaxed in that one. And it wasn't straight, but the thing is, the Iron Fist villains are the Hand. Daredevil's bad guys are the Hand. And they were infiltrating New York, and they were going against Kingpin and trying to take over and all this stuff, and they're involved with Hydra and all this other stuff in the comics. And it was super comic accurate. I cannot tell you how amazing it was for those Netflix shows to all tie together and then do the Defenders miniseries and have it be this massive battle against the Hand. And they did the thing where in the comics, Elektra dies. Bullseye kills her. Bullseye kills her dead. And then they bring her back the way they brought her back in that with the Hand ceremony. They bring her back to life. And she's kind of a bad guy, but then turns back at the end and joins back up with Matt. So for me, that was like a culmination of like years and years and years and years of fanboy getting to see it on a screen, even though it was a TV screen and not a big screen. For me, phenomenal. I loved it. I couldn't have done it better. I thought it was amazing. Number 3 for me, Loki. I loved it. Loki and the Asgardian stuff and the Avenger ties in and the Kang villain. Like I said in an earlier video, I hate what they've done with Kang. But in this show, the setup for Kang was perfect. Because he sits there and he tells them, there's somebody worse than me. It's up to you. You do whatever you want. I'll be back. And the whole show for me, I like the time jumping stuff. We got a little annoying at first, but the episodes where he's in the one with Sif, just he's like, oh please, I know, but I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a little weird when he was falling in love with himself, but it was himself from a different alternate timeline. But I guess if you think about that character and Loki, the god of mischief, no normal woman is ever going to trust him. So it'd have to be a female version of himself would be the only way he's ever going to find real love. So I really like that show. The next 2, I had trouble deciding which one was number 1, and then finally I was like, there's no way I could not put what I have number 1. So number 2 for me is Jessica Jones. And for me, I almost put it number 1 because for me, I'm friends with somebody that worked on the show. That show, I really like that show. That character, when they introduced it in the comics, was really cool. It was long before they did the TV show. That first season was great. I like the other characters they brought in and introduced, and her sister, their sister character is another character. Oh, who is she? She gets the powers later in the second.
Talking about Hellcat, I believe.
Yes, she becomes Hellcat, and I really the interaction with Luke Cage and the thing is, it takes a superhero. It takes a superhero and brings her to a real life level. And she has all these normal problems where most of the superheroes outside of Peter Parker, they don't have a lot of problems. They have different issues, but I just like the writing and the show pace. It was really well done, and if they had done a fourth season, I would have probably watched it. So number one, hands down, the best Marvel TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And there's not enough time to go into why, but I mean, they do the Inhumans right in there. They entered the Ghost Rider they do in that show is phenomenal. The character development with Mockingbird, Bobby, and which was Hawkeye's original first wife, and all these other characters. They introduced Graviton in there, and just it's just one thing after another. And then the Kree and the future jumping and the character selection, and they're so relatable. They're with Fitz and Simmons, and that show, I love that show. All the stuff they did with Coulson, and I would that they had done something with them in the movies. We've talked about that, but that show was by far the best one.
All right. Number 5 is going to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I really like that show, and I agree with everything you said. It's just, to me, it just seemed like the cinematography and the way it was filmed and some of the stuff, it just seemed like they had a really low budget. If they would have had a better budget, I think I would have liked it. But the Ghost Rider stuff was phenomenal. I love that stuff. It was like, I don't see why on a cheap budget, they were able to do what films couldn't do and make a really awesome Ghost Rider. And so I loved that. I love Phil Coulson. I loved Quake and all those. All the actors were great. I love that one. Number 4 was She-Hulk, which is something that I had resisted watching because of bad reviews. And I think part of what made the show, some of the things you were talking about before, is it seems like the reason why they cut that ending is because it's like this, women are supposed to be emotional. Right. And so she's like, what, are you taking over my show? And she's just like, and then women, so it seems like it's been said that women like to change the subject. And so she changed the subject, right, and made it about something. She's like, wait, you're not going to take over my show. And then she went in. And so it was like, to me,
They're going to cancel
some people
you.
were saying that the show was girl boss territory and they were making men look stupid. But I think if you really look at it, they make women look stupid in that show because she let that guy fool her, right? People can be vulnerable, and she was. And so she learned not to be so trusting. And so she made a lot of bad choices, a lot of wrong choices, and then she starts to somewhat correct herself. And so it's not that I say that it would be incorrect to say that She-Hulk wasn't vulnerable. It didn't make wrong choices.
Let me just interrupt. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but I hope they're watching, because everything that you said is not what they wanted you to
Maybe.
see. So I think the people writing it absolutely were trying to make the girl bosses, and the fact that everything you said is like the reason why they're like how bad they're what they're doing is, which is they're trying to they try so hard they make them actually look stupid in the way they do it. But that was not their intentions. So I hope they're watching, because it's not working.
I don't know that they.
No, they were.
They had a. It seems like some of these people have never done any writing before, because when you look at it, when you see people that you trust that are critics and they talk about certain things, it's like, so you don't always agree with what they say, but it's hard to know. We could speculate about what they were.
Didn't you say monkeys and typewriters once before?
I did say that.
Well, no, I mean, but it becomes pretty obvious when you look at the whole scheme. Anyways,
no, but I just think that overall the show in its entirety was not as bad as I was led to believe, which is why it ranks higher, because it was funny.
I enjoyed it,
and I think it was well rounded. And I don't know that. I don't know who knows what they intended. What was that? So number 3 is Jessica Jones. I had never heard of Jessica Jones. I didn't know who it was. And that was the first one that I watched of the stuff on Netflix. And I knew people like Jessica Jones, minus the superpowers. And so that was like seeing a familiar friend. Okay? And obviously, I mean, she had a hardcore life in New York, but I just thought it was really well done. I loved that she was so damn cynical, dude, about everything. And she was like, anybody who's like putting up any kind of fluff or whatever, she's like, I don't want to hear your shit, you know. I love Jessica Jones. Number 2 is Moon Knight. I was also reluctant to watch that, but having not knowing anything about Moon Knight, and what you said earlier was a great point. The cinematography was phenomenal in that show. And it was like, it's like even the way the hallways were lit, the way the bathroom looked. It's not like they had these great, beautiful landscapes in every scene, But whoever did that, they knew how to make a bathroom look interesting. Because I'm just like sitting there like, man, it's like you have these like expensive set pieces on other shows that don't look half as interesting as this bathroom does. And so, almost knowing nothing about Moon Knight, I really liked the show. I really enjoyed how it kind of made the gods seem what you would think they might be like if you met them. And I love that cute hippo, though, that little cute hippo. She was awesome. She's like, oh, da, 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 da. I was like, she was awesome. I have a thing for hippos. I think they're cute. Number one is Daredevil. Okay? It's like blind Spider-Man to me. All right? And the guy's a Catholic, and you can't, you're like a repentant Catholic or you're a reluctant Catholic. How could you blame a guy like that? You know what I mean? And so, did you all notice that in the first, I don't know if it was in the first couple episodes, they showed the way he sees. It was like a red kind of flaming thing. I lament the fact that they didn't go back to that because you could have seen whole fight scenes like that, or like scenes where maybe he gets hit and then you see that they could have done things better. But I just really liked Daredevil. I liked how he just was the struggles that he had to try to just do right and limit. Because man, it's not easy to make right choices. It's not easy to do the right thing. It comes with struggle, and I just really loved Daredevil.
So, before you get real fast on that, and those are some of the same reasons why, and the radar is what it is, his radar sonar that he's using. There are times in the comics where the entire comic, there was an issue where you see everything from his point of view.
Wasn't the cover even was like that?
And it was like, it's raining, and because of the rain, it's hitting off Elektra's face. And that's how he's like, he knows it's her, and he can heartbeat. So there are times in the comics where he'd run into Spider-Man or Peter Parker, and he would know who it was. Both, it didn't matter. He would always know who it was. And it was just, that character is on a whole different level when it comes to trustworthy, because he knows so much about other people, and he keeps their privacy to themselves. It's pretty interesting. Great, but I agree. It's a great show.
All right, Doc.
I'm not gonna throw
Let him have it.
my list like you did. Number 5 for me is Hawkeye. I loved Hawkeye. Hawkeye was great. It was just super enjoyable, man. I don't know. Listen, I liked Haley. Is it Steinfeld or whatever? I think that's her name. Who played that actress? The actress who played that character just made this like a likable character. Yeah, she made a likable character. I like the back and forth between her and Yelena Belova character. It was a really great way to do it. She came in, they kind of set her up, but they had the back and forth with Hawkeye, so it wasn't like, it kind of, you could accept her as the new Hawkeye, like he was kind of training her and showing us she didn't just come in and be automatically a boss, and she was the best at it. And and then with him, you can kind of see the toll. You see the toll that it takes on a human being to be standing with gods. That he's like, his hearing is bad and all these things bad from all the stuff he did from the Avengers. It was just really enjoyable. And then Vincent D'Onofrio's freaking Kingpin comes in the last episode, like, thank you, because I love the Netflix universe, Marvel universe. So thank you for bringing that guy in. And he comes in, and he can't be dead. I hope he shouldn't be dead, but they made it. He might have been dead, but he can't be dead. He's got to still be alive. But it was really awesome, though he kind of came in like that. It was just a really fun show. I really enjoyed it. Number 4 is going to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the most part. The ending seasons is why it's only on 4. I loved Agents at the beginning. I loved it. It was like even the first ones, which a lot of people, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the first 15 episodes, a lot of people didn't really like the first 15, and they liked it once they had the Winter Soldier kind of timeline when Hydra came in, and from there on they really liked it. But a lot of people didn't like it. I loved the first episodes. I loved the first several seasons, but the last like 2 or 3 seasons, it just fell off for me. I wasn't really in the timeline jumping thing. I wasn't with the Chronicoms and the Kree, not the Kree, but some of them being taken to the future and all of that. I just wasn't really that just kind of killed it for me. I wasn't super into that, but the beginning I really enjoyed, and they kept bringing the guy who sat in the back. Ward kept coming back, and he was like this. The Inhumans were bringing in the Inhumans, and they started learning about the powers, and and her crazy dad who like is banging his head against the wall, and Mr. Hyde, all that stuff.
I was gonna say, that's Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
from
of course I know
Spider-Man.
that. Of course I know this. It's just all that cool stuff that was going on. It was going on. They just did really great stuff. I think that being stuck on network television kind of time slot kind of messed up a little bit for them. That they didn't have the freedom to do as much as they could. But even then, it was still a really great series. Number 3, and I'm appalled at you two, is the Punisher. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. John Bernthal's Punisher. I love John Bernthal's Punisher. It's brutal. It's the Punisher, man. It's brutal. He plays the Punisher it's like a Rocky Punisher. He plays like the Rocky. Like he's just a brutal character. But it's just really badass. Like this man, and I love that this man he protects the innocent. He protects these, but he's like this gruff guy, doesn't care about people, but then he sees like someone getting hurt. So like in the first season, he's here. Like when he is introduced in Daredevil, like he's there trying to get revenge for these people that killed his family. Like you have to appreciate that. And so he's just going ballistic, and then he's just like getting shot all over the place or whatever. And then so the next season he dies, right? Supposedly fakes his death. And the next season, in the first season of The Punisher, he's like, it just opens up cool. Like he's just faking his death, and then he's like, he's just in here like just kind of hairy demolition stuff, and there's like these cocky guys who show up and like who are working with him, and they're screwing with him, and he doesn't do anything, and they're screwing with him, and then anyways at the end he comes back, and he just like, it's just really badass. Like these guys screw over this other kid who they pulled this kid, and this kid's trying to befriend him, and he's like not really like, I'm not going to be friends with you or whatever, but he's being a, gruff Punisher guy, but he kind of appreciates the kid because this kid, he's like this young guy, and he's kind of innocent, but at the same time, he's trying to get with those guys who are bullies. He's trying to be in their crew. And so he goes and does this whole criminal thing with them. And then he screws up. And so they're going to kill him. And then they go to the job site, and they're like going to, like, they throw him in this hole and start pouring concrete, and they're going to kill him. And then Punisher shows up. He was there late because he has demons in his head from all this stuff. He has trauma, so he's just there, and he kills these guys like ridiculous. Just wrecks these guys, and it just he comes back, and then this whole season he's got this whole badass arc. And this guy who was his best friend, he finds out in the end actually betrayed him and is the one who got his family killed. Who was there with his children, who was friends with his family, who was there with his daughters, and who was in there, a criminal with them, who was not a criminal, who was a soldier with him, was actually stabbing him in the back the whole time. And so he screws this guy's face up and goes off in the sunset, and then he gets pulled back because that guy, he didn't kill him because he decides not to kill him. That guy wakes up from the coma, and he's crazed and breaks out, and so he has to come back and kill that guy. And he just runs into this girl who got herself into some deep crap in a bar. He runs into her in a bar. She took some pictures with some people that end up being criminals, and so they're coming for her now. And he just takes her under his wing. And then there's this whole this hilarious storyline where she doesn't trust him, so he has her trapped. So he's holding her because he knows that she's in trouble, and she doesn't understand that she's in trouble, and she's trying to run off, but she's trying to escape and stuff, and so because she's an idiot. And so he just beats the crap out of these people, shoots this guy, and then it all concludes into him actually becoming the Punisher. At the end of the series, he's he separates his ways. Then the end of the series, he's in New York still, and there's these gangs that show up in a meeting underground, and they're you called me here, and no, you called me here, you called us here, whatever, what's up, fool, what's it? And then he just walks out in the full Punisher garb and just mows them. It was just such a great series. I love that.
What
series.
number is this on your list?
This is number 3.
It sounds like he's one of the writers, or he's got a memory like a steel trap.
I love that. I watched that series over and over and over again. I love that series.
It sounds like he's a ghost rider without the flames or a motorcycle.
He's just really badass. He's awesome. Number 2 is, of course, Daredevil. Daredevil was just great stuff, man. I mean, I'm really glad that they didn't recast that character. I'm really glad that they brought him in. They kept because I just fell in love with that guy. He's just an awesome. The actor was just all the actors around it just did really well. He introduces and brings in certain other characters, and just this whole storyline. I mean, even though like I said, Netflix writing can be really slow. It was a great story. You kept up with everything you guys said. It was an awesome series. It was really enjoyable. I mean, the intro, it's like 5 minutes long. That's annoying. But outside of that, like, he's just he's also that other kind of brutal character. And they bring in Bullseye, and they have the cape, all of that, the whole Punisher arc, all of it. It was great stuff. Punisher really probably should be number one because I just have my love for it. Because the other two, but it's not going to be number one. Number one, I'm appalled at you, Drake. Is WandaVision. I'm appalled at you. For everything you said, it was the complete opposite. I think you got it completely, absolutely wrong. It was a master of storytelling. I think all the things you said about, the pace and all of that, and that's a story, right? First, you come in already knowing the character, so we all know basically what's going on from the beginning. But the way it is written, and then there's this little cliffhanger at each end, and I have not a sore spot, a weakness or a love for parody and homage. I love homage parody. I love pointing out the different styles of cinema and storytelling that we've gone through and doing homages and parodies to that. And so I really loved how it was this whole, and then they bring in the X-Men. Pietro shows up, which they still screwed it up a little bit. They did some like a boner joke and all that crap. But outside of that, he pops in. This thing, the storytelling of it was perfectly set up. There's beekeeper, and then we find out a couple of it was this guy, and he comes in and pops up, and Vision starts sussing things out. All these little things that were thrown in. Here's this helicopter, and then 1 or 2 episodes later, we find out what that actually was, and it was this drone. We find out what's really going on, and it just slowly it was just a beautiful storytelling. It was like cinema at its best. Honestly, it's the best thing I think Disney has done in their series. It's the most successful. The rest of them, it's really just pale in comparison.